with a top 3 placement for our state as we continue to punch above our weight and attract new businesses and quality job opportunities. Ford and SK Innovations Blue Oval SK Battery Park in Hardin County is the largest economic development project in our state history and will continue to be a significant driver of growth in our state. It too was recognized through the rankings. The project appeared at number 7 for job creation on the U.S. Giants list, with 5,800 full-time jobs expected once operation begins in 2025, and maybe some reason to believe that those numbers might grow further. Even better, several communities across the Commonwealth received recognition, and we're proud of you. The Northern Kentucky-Cincinnati region placed second in projects per capita for metropolitans with the population over 1 million, while Louisville ranked 7th in the same category. Bowling Green was second in total projects for metros with fewer than 200,000 people and third per capita, while E-Town and Fort Knox also placed in the top 10 in both categories. Frankfort was the top micropolitan as defined as cities with populations between 10,000 and 50,000, and it placed 7th nationally in that category with 8 announcements. Proud of Frankfort. Other communities to be recognized throughout the rankings were Guthrie in southern Kentucky, Bardstown, Danville, Paducah, Glasgow, Somerset, Madisonville, and Mount Sterling. This highlights that our economic momentum goes far beyond a few select communities. In fact, 56% of our announcements in 2021 were located in rural counties. This is what has to be our goal. Being on the cusp of a new era of prosperity, it has to reach every part of Kentucky. And that's exactly what we're seeing. Both in rural Kentucky, we're announcing $100 million in investment just about 10 days ago in West Louisville. We right now are seeing investments everywhere. And our goal has to be opportunity available to everyone. I want to congratulate every community that was recognized in the latest Governor's Cup rankings. So, not to rest on those laurels, we're keeping the ball rolling. And that includes last week's announcement that Total Quality Logistics will move forward with 3, not 1, but 3 separate expansions across Kentucky. The freight brokerage and third-party logistics firm will build on its existing presence in Lexington, Louisville, and Northern Kentucky with a total of up to 525 new full-time jobs for our residents. TQL has operated in the Commonwealth for over a decade. They make us proud by the great work that they do. And they currently employ already 800 people across multiple locations. So what a statement in their faith in us to add over 50% to their workforce in just the next couple of years. A majority of the job creation will be in Lexington with 300 new jobs in Fayette County. And they include jobs all across the spectrum, entry-level jobs, senior roles within the company's sales, customer service, and operations divisions. It is always great to see existing Kentucky companies grow. Now, we talk a lot about the new ones we bring in, but those who already know Kentucky, love Kentucky, see what our workforce can do. Every time they expand, it's just another testament to the environment we have, but more than that, the people that we have, our families that drive the success of these companies, and here help drive the vehicles for this logistics company. I greatly appreciate the company's leadership showing continued support for our communities and our workforce. And this isn't the only logistics-related growth we've seen as of late. Just yesterday, we highlighted the continued growth of Kentucky's distribution and logistics sector with the announcement that Pegasus Industries will expand their company headquarters in Shelbyville. The market expansion of Pegasus's distribution facility will create 26 full-time jobs, an investment of $738,000. And let me say, Shelbyville and Shelby County has been on a roll. It's been exciting to see their growth. The company will expand its facility on Haven Hill Road by almost 3,000 square feet. The expansion will allow the company to provide custom services to Kentucky's bourbon and spirits industries. It's these types of connections, nexus, whether it's a distribution and logistics network, or whether it is a supply chain that is truly that next step towards not just bringing in new companies, but growing existing companies. There is so much work out there that I think existing Kentucky companies would love to source with existing Kentucky companies. And we look forward to helping make those connections as we move forward. But this project will include investment in new technology as well as machinery, shipping docks, equipment, and systems to help process more orders and assist with specialized packaging and promotional items. For nearly 25 years, Pegasus Industries and Packaging has provided packaging and procurement services and total supply chain solutions to a variety of customers. The company includes 14 facilities in 4 states. They employ more than 400 people. In 2017, the company was named the Kentucky Manufacturer of the Year in the midsize category by the Kentucky Association of Manufacturers. This planned investment adds to a thriving logistics and distribution sector in the Commonwealth, something we do better, I think, than anybody else. It is our prime geographic location, as well as the infrastructure that we are continuing to invest in, and grateful for that Federal Infrastructure Act. That's going to take us to the next level as, I believe, the logistics capital of the United States of America. It's an incredible commitment by Pegasus Industries. It's going to continue to support so many Kentucky families and add to them. So I want to thank the company's leadership for their continued faith in us. Okay, so this week is also Severe Weather Awareness Week in Kentucky, something we have seen a lot of, and now we understood before, but certainly feel how important it is to be aware when severe weather is coming. Because everyone needs to be aware, be prepared, and have a plan in the event of weather threats. Let's do that again. All of us, with everything we've lived through, need those 3 things: be aware, be prepared, and have a plan. Also this week, we remember the 10th anniversary of one of Kentucky's worst tornado outbreaks in our history. 18 tornadoes touched down in 2012, hitting 27 communities. 26 people were killed, 200 were hurt. Some of the hardest hit places were West Liberty, Salyersville, and East Bernstadt. And I'm really proud of those communities. Having just been in West Liberty about 2 weeks ago, we had their city clerk up for economic development presentation yesterday. I'm proud of how they came together, how they've rebuilt that town, and how there's a testament that there is a tomorrow in some of the darkest times. And they're a beacon for areas in Western Kentucky that were hit by the most devastating tornadoes we've ever seen this last December, with Dawson Springs, Bremen, Mayfield being hit extremely hard, though I know there are other communities in those counties and other counties that were also hit so hard. We continue to pray for everybody affected, and we are going to be there helping everyone to rebuild their structures and rebuild their lives. And we are making progress. Kentucky Emergency Management has now taken over management of emergency sheltering in hotels from the Red Cross. That happened on Tuesday. As of March 2nd, 605 individuals from 246 households are sheltered by the Commonwealth in travel trailers, hotels, and state parks. That includes 121 individuals from 31 households occupying 32 of our brand new travel trailers. 239 individuals from 124 households are occupying hotel rooms, and 252 individuals from 92 households are occupying state parks. As the number of sheltering guests, though, does continue to decline, and that's actually a good sign. That's people finding a more permanent place to live, whether it is with family, whether it is a place they have found that they can stay. That's how people get their lives back to a little closer to normal as we rebuild. So what we've been doing is the process of consolidating the number first of state parks that we are using. The consolidation allows sheltered guests to transition to medium-term housing, which are self-sufficient family units that have more room and amenities like a kitchen. 2 forms of medium-term housing, travel trailers, and cottages, all of which are closer to communities and schools. And admittedly, this is sometimes a tough step that we face in any rebuilding effort. That's moving from the emergent needs, where we're trying to take care of every need of a person that's lost everything, that probably can't even find their driver's license, that needs time to get those things back in order. But after several months, it's time to start moving back towards a normal. And so we're in the process right now of moving people out of the state lodge rooms, state park lodge rooms, into cabins where they can take care of their own food and ultimately their own needs. Same is occurring with hotels, where we'll have travel trailers and cottages available. And there's also a process that was both undertaken by the Red Cross and KYEM, where we also go out and look at people's property. And if that's something that on a timetable can and should be repaired, and we do have to push those repairs. And when people can get back in their homes, we want them to be able to get back in those homes. Sometimes it's things like utilities, and we can refer them to folks that can get the lights and the water turned back on. But this is one of those tough steps that we are taking. We're taking with compassion, and we're working really hard to try to get everybody the best outcome. The consolidation effort is well underway within the state parks. Everybody will be moved out of Barkley here in just a couple of days. All right, also $5.7 million in Team Western Kentucky Tornado Relief Funds headed to Western Kentucky families. So this week we announced $5.7 million in assistance payments from the fund are headed to renters and homeowners. Over this week and next week, it's about 5,000 Kentuckians that are going to be receiving these payments. These are people who are insured in their homes or their apartments, and this is a payment to help them with the deductible that they paid. The payments can go up to $2,500, but depend on the amount of deductible that you had to pay. The first 2,000 checks have already been out. That's $2.3 million. The next almost 3,000 for $3.4 million are going out on Monday. This is just the latest step in how we are providing these funds. Excited about the next step, about how can we work to cover impacted families' costs in the actual rebuilding. How can we leverage some of these dollars with nonprofits that are so good at coming in and rebuilding, and hopefully how we can speed up the process if we can bring those dollars to bear. Finally, for those who are still needing assistance, we recently launched a registration site for survivors to indicate any of their remaining needs. We've had about 177 reach out and use this site. So please, this is FEMA. FEMA, you have to apply by March the 14th. You really need to apply to FEMA because it's connected to so many other forms of help. All right, finally, and very quickly on COVID. Isn't it amazing that we can do very quickly on COVID? Everything continues to get better. A pandemic that has been really hard. Those are really great words to say. On Monday, we'll be able to show you week to week, but I just want to show you the hospitalizations, ICUs, and ventilators, because that gives you a graphic, a visual idea that we continue to see everything decline. These are, well, this is an older one. We have one that is March the 2nd, but it looks just like this, except the line has continued to go down. It is declining at pretty much the same rate. The hospitalizations show no sign of even flattening. It is a steep decline, which is wonderful. It means fewer people are in the hospital because of COVID. Not quite as steep of a decline, but still a good one, are our ICU numbers. Again, that's the 28th. We have the new information from March the 2nd that shows that number is continuing to decline. The graph looks pretty much the same on ventilators, but let me share something pretty incredible. We have the lowest number of Kentuckians on a ventilator because of COVID since July of 2021. I think it's the first time we have been under 100 Kentuckians on a ventilator because of COVID since July of 2021. That is really good news. And finally, let me comment just one more time on what's going on across the world. First, people in the United States and throughout the free world are paying tribute to Ukraine. It was important that Brittany and I and the entire Commonwealth were able to do the same, to honor the Ukraine and the strength and bravery of its people. We have lit our state capitol and governor's mansion blue and yellow. And we want to invite all Kentuckians to do the same when and where they can to lift up this country and keep its people in our prayer. God bless them. Now, I know we are starting to feel the economic impact of this Russian aggression and invasion into Ukraine. But stopping a dictator's aggression has always taken sacrifice. In many ways, we are blessed and should be grateful that the sacrifice being asked of us are not our sons and daughters on a battlefield. The sacrifice that is being asked is to push through what will be some economic difficulties, personal difficulties, and being able to afford certain things. But if we can endure it, and we will, we have the strength, we will cripple the Russian economy, and we will stop this aggression right where it is, because we have learned in history, when you don't stand up to a dictator and stop them, they will continue, and we cannot let that happen. So to the people of Kentucky, be strong. This is temporary, but it is absolutely necessary. It is an issue of patriotism, and if we continue to be strong and show unity, which I know we will stop this enemy, and we will have protected freedom and democracy through some sacrifices we make in our everyday lives. All right, we'll open it up to questions. First, we got Austin Pollock here in studio.
Governor, the U.S. Supreme Court decided today that Attorney General Daniel Cameron can defend a Kentucky law banning some types of abortion. Any reaction to that?
Yeah, this was a case where the Attorney General represented the cabinet and lost in front of the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals. And at that point, any client here, the cabinet said, okay, we tried and we lost. And the Attorney General said, well, I want to continue, and I'm going to try to do it on my own. And the cabinet said, okay, and didn't oppose that at all. So now the Supreme Court has ruled that can continue. It can continue. Tom Latek, Kentucky Today.
Good afternoon, Governor. Just for COVID's sake, obviously this Sunday is the second anniversary, or 2 years ago, our first case. How do we stand on that monument that's going to go up on the Capitol grounds? What's the status of that?
So the monument is moving forward. Like everything, the supply chain has impacted it. We believe that it will be fully constructed and open to the public by March of next year. We hope it will be earlier than that. We are fully committed to it. We have it fully funded. And I think it's important for people. We are going to be grieving for a long time. You don't lose 14,000 Kentuckians, more than any 3 wars put together, and not feel it for a long time. We have a number of people that are dealing with long haul syndrome, symptoms of COVID, and still aren't better. We have others who may bear their scars internally as well as externally with sacrifices that they have had to make. We've got a whole generation of healthcare heroes who've had to go through something that most of us couldn't imagine, and frontline workers and National Guard men and women who have done such incredible work, educators who were able to get our classrooms here in Kentucky open faster than just about any other state. We have a generation of kids that missed out on some things, but through their sacrifice have saved thousands of lives and can look around this Commonwealth and know that at their young age, they have already made a difference in saving lives and ensuring that other people's relatives are at that next holiday celebration. And I see it on the faces of our young people. They know they've done something special, and I believe it's going to make them one of the most special generations that we have ever seen. So this will be a gathering place for us to come together, to remember, to mourn, to celebrate the bravery, and to hopefully learn and remember that the great lesson of COVID is we all count, every single one of us. And whether it's battling something difficult or on the precipice of great prosperity, we got to remember that everybody has to be a part of it. Josh James.
Hi, Governor. A bill is moving through the legislature that would allow the state to essentially punish or divest in banks that are trying to reduce their business with fossil fuel companies. This would be Kentucky potentially stopping doing business with financial firms that are concerned about climate change. Your thoughts on that?
That's not a free market. You know, the people of Kentucky expect us to get the best deal every time we can, to bring in finance leveraging to create new jobs and to save their taxpayer dollars. Listen, every large business that we get right now is talking to us about their level of carbon footprint. And we as a state don't want to say no thank you to them. So much of our energy portfolio right now that's being sought is being driven by the private sector. And I think these are folks that have always claimed that they support decisions that can be made in the private sector. Listen, I believe that there is and always will be a place in our energy portfolio for fossil fuels like coal. That's what give us the reliability to ensure the lights will always be on. But we have got to be forward thinking and to realize we need to invest in every form of energy to be attractive to every form of company that's out there. This is not an either or. Let's make sure we have policies that we embrace all forms of energy and all of these companies and all of the potential financing that we can bring in. Now, let's just be smart about it. Bria Jones.
Hi, Governor. Have there been any updates on how the federally offered COVID resources like the tests and some of the masks have been getting out to Western Kentucky? I know I asked a few weeks ago about how that process was going, especially when some folks' addresses can't even be put into that system. Have there been any updates about how that process is being handled?
Yeah, I don't have a specific update other than we were made aware that pharmacies, and there were pharmacies that weren't hit, for instance, in Mayfield, you know, just before you go over the hill into town, as well as at least in the larger Hopkins County region, did have masks. And of course, numerous organizations had masks available for anybody who needed them. We at state parks had masks already for anybody who needed it. Now it's interesting, the overall federal program on take-home tests, we thought they'd all be gone in a couple of days. Turns out they have a large amount left that have not been ordered. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It's all in the timing. It's because Omicron is decreasing. The desire for testing decreases. It actually shows we got elasticity in our testing network that is out there where we can grow our capabilities when we need to, and where it can even absorb those downturns. Now, to do that, we need the federal government to do what they've committed to do. They're keeping that website open. You can still order. They're going to keep buying into it as well. But what it may do is also free up some of the ability to buy take-home tests and at-home tests in your local convenience store or grocery or elsewhere. It still is an important tool that in the right circumstances, we hope that people will use. Marcus Green.
Hi, Governor. After your announcement this week with Governor DeWine about the Brent Spence project, Mayor Fisher of Louisville said that he would like Kentucky and Indiana to use some of its federal infrastructure funds to possibly reduce the toll burden from the Riverlink bridges here. Would you support that? And do you think that's possible under the guidance that you all anticipate coming from that legislation?
So first, I want to make sure that people know that Louisville is going to receive substantial dollars, significant dollars under the federal infrastructure bill. And it's going to receive some dollars that other communities won't. For instance, there are significant dollars that will go into the Louisville, Lexington, and Northern Kentucky airports that the regional airports out there won't share in. Certainly, electrification and the electric vehicle charging stations. Louisville is going to be a prime area that's going to see that. Transit. There are only a certain number of cities across Kentucky that will qualify for the transit dollars that are out there. Louisville will get those. A lot of other communities will not. Water and sewer, with more rounds coming. Bigger projects in Louisville, a bigger piece of that pie, allowing MSD to do much needed work without it impacting the citizens of Louisville, which are called the ratepayers in those actions. So it's important to know that Louisville is going to see significant amounts of dollars, and statewide probably the largest amount of dollars because it's the largest city. We're going to have to look at whether what Mayor Fisher is suggesting is even allowed under the Federal Infrastructure Act. It's certainly aimed at new projects and improvements, but that doesn't mean something like this won't be possible. But it's not been a use that anyone has mentioned, or at least that we have seen mentioned, from the president's descriptions to those discussing it on the floor of the U.S. House and the U.S. Senate. So the first question, and I think you nailed it, Marcus, is will it be allowable? And then the second question is, if it is, what are the opportunities that Louisville or others would miss out on by putting the dollars in that direction? In other words, is it the biggest and best benefit to the people of Louisville? But it's certainly something we're going to analyze. It's a very natural question to ask. Now, Louisville's willingness, along with Southern Indiana, to do what they did when my dad was governor and Mitch Daniels, meant those bridges have been up and will be up for, what, a decade at least, maybe 15, 20 years before the Brent Spence Bridge is finally completed. And there is also a huge advantage to that on the economic growth, on those that can locate and take advantage of it. So more to come. Gil McClanahan.
Madam Governor, good to be with you. Hope you're doing okay. I wanted to get your thoughts on another bill that's going through the legislature. It's Senate Bill 138, the Teaching American Principles, that extends teaching about 24 documents like the Constitution, Gettysburg Address, Declaration of Independence, extends that to middle and high school students. Is that something you're for or against, and why?
Well, I come at my review of that bill not as governor, but as a parent. As a parent, I think I should get a say in my kids' curriculum. And I think other parents do too. And right now we do. You know, the curriculum is put together by our school districts. They're discussed in open school board meetings. Site-based council discusses them with parents that are on there. Right now, parents are a part of the discussion about what is taught to our kids. This bill makes decisions without parents whatsoever. Makes a decision that the U.S. Constitution, the speech by Reagan, are on the same level, right? Those are decisions where parents ought to have input, and they have zero in what's going through right now. And so for those that are for parent participation in education, you ought to have serious concerns about that bill. You won't have more of a say. You will have much, much less. Debbie Yetter, Courier-Journal.
Hi, Governor. I haven't heard much about vaccination rates lately, and I wondered if you could say how those are going. We're in a good place with COVID right now, but there's a potential for another variant. I wondered if there were any thoughts about trying to increase vaccination.
We'd love to increase vaccinations, Debbie. The reason we didn't get a vaccination report today is that they are down so much. I think yesterday's report was between 100 and 200. It's the lowest that I remember seeing since well before Omicron. I think that's lower than we even had in our best of times last summer. We had about 1,000 yesterday, which is a better bounce back. There have been other days where we're at 1,000, and those are just new shots, right? But normally it's either about that amount or 1.5 times that amount that we see in boosters. So we certainly need people to continue to get vaccinated. Some of it's natural, or people are a little less worried about it. Some of it's impacted by how many people have had COVID, have had Omicron, that weren't vaccinated, and now they can't get vaccinated or are advised not to for a certain period of time. And of course, your doctor will give you that schedule. Our job is to keep pushing, to keep slogging on, but there's no question that as Omicron is plummeting, thankfully, our vaccination levels are certainly decreasing. I wouldn't call them plummeting, but they are significantly down, and we certainly hope that once people are able to get vaccinated, that they will climb. And we really need people, especially 5 to 25, to get vaccinated. I will remind everybody as we sit here today, 76% of people over the age of 18, those are people who are making their own healthcare decisions, have gotten vaccinated. That's over 3/4. That is a big deal. That means there's not some two sides fighting over something. It means the vast majority of Kentuckians believe in this and want to protect one another. And then when you look at those that are eligible, 5 and older, we're almost at 70% having their first shot. Again, that's more faster than ever in human history, but we know COVID is a formidable adversary. All right, thank you, everybody. I believe we will be back on Monday with a COVID report that will look at the entire week, but it's going to be a good report. While deaths are still too high, and we're going to have some that are still coming in from a month or 2 months ago, where you got to go through a process. Maybe it's added to a death certificate. We do think that deaths are going to tail off just like everything else we're seeing. Right now, it looks like we're going to a really good place. So yes, we got to learn to live with COVID, but we cannot ignore it. Thank you.